dirt road off a 2-lane past a shot up county sign. Squeaking of a backyard screen door letting you know that it's
The Putnam Personalities podcast exists to highlight the good, the positive, and the inspirational in our community. This episode is not an endorsement of any political or religious ideology. This podcast is a simple interview to get to know our friends, neighbors, leaders, and colleagues on a more personal level. Sit back, grab some sweet tea, and enjoy today's interview.
like home to me.
You are from Putnam County originally, and just tell us a little bit about your life, where you grew up, what school you went to, all that good stuff. Let's start with that.
Okay, so I grew up in Interlachen, Florida. I was born in Gainesville. I went to Interlachen Elementary, but it's a different name now. And then I went to C.H. Price Middle School and Interlachen High School. I did go to QI for 8th grade, but for the majority, I'm Interlachen High School. And I played volleyball, track and field, and basketball at Interlachen.
Awesome. Now so you ran track and field at Interlachen, but you ran somewhere else too, didn't you?
Yeah, so I just ran for the school, but I never trained with the school.
Okay.
All my life I did AAU track and field, and so I was training in Gainesville, and my coach allowed me to run in the meet with Interlachen.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have it written down over there that you have some records that you hold. You have the 200 meter, 2018. Your name is still at the school, and you're I guess you're holding that place until someone beats you.
Yeah.
So, and you didn't know that until just now.
Yeah, that's not even my fastest time.
No, I don't know. I don't remember what the time was. You had you had 16 rebounds in a game in 2018. So I guess you hold the record for that as well, according to the plaque at the school. A 4x400, they call it 4x4 relay.
Yeah.
And then you and let's see, who are your running mates?
Malia Brown, Kiera Chauncey, and Ashanti Watson.
Okay, and Malia, she plays
basketball at a D1 university. Yeah.
Cool, very good. And you guys held that, or you have that record from 2018 as well. So it sounds like 18 was a good year for you.
My freshman year.
Freshman year. And we talked a little bit before the recording and learned that you were one of the survivors of the 2020 year, walking around with masks and all the. Tell us a little bit about your last year in high school, about what the other kids were doing to try to get to be noticed, and then how disappointing it was in different ways. So kind of tell us a little bit about what happened your senior year.
Yeah, so senior year, everyone thought, okay, this is my chance. I'm going to apply to college. I'm going to get noticed by colleges, and it just didn't work out that way for a lot of people. For me, senior year was, I'm going to have fun. I had got an offer from the University of Miami to run track, and I didn't want to do track anymore. And so I was like, okay, senior year, I am not going to try as hard. I'm going to actually have fun and not wreck my brain, and that's what I did.
Awesome. So after graduation, what'd you do?
I went into the military.
What branch?
Army Reserve. I went to Army Reserve, and then I got out of training around Thanksgiving time, and then I attended Warren University in Lake Wales in January.
Okay, so you've already had a graduation with college?
Yeah, last weekend.
Okay, and what happened with graduation? What was your study and all that stuff? What did you?
I graduated with a bachelor's in psychology, a minor in ministry, and then I think it went well. I felt like a relief because there was a time where I thought that I wasn't gonna be able to make it to that point, and I'm glad that I pulled it off.
Good, congratulations. Yeah, I saw the pictures. My daughter graduated on Friday night from Pensacola Christian College, and she had some accolades as well too. This interview's not about her, so we won't go that route, but she graduated as well. She completed her 4-year, so I'm proud of her. But yeah, so what are your plans now that you have a degree, and where are you going? What you doing now?
I want to get my master's, just because I know that the military is going to pay for it, and why not seize the opportunity to get your master's, So hopefully I'm able to do that. I want to take fall semester off because although I'm going to get my master's, like I'm not too big on school. So after I get my master's, hopefully I will become an officer in the military. I'll join ROTC whenever I go. What else do I plan on doing? I'm going to stay in the reserves. Everyone likes to ask me, hey, are you going to go full-time military? I'm like, I don't know about that. With things that are going on, I want to stay in the reserves as long as possible. And
What about the psychology degree, though? What are you going to do with that? You're going to use that in any way?
I might use it. I know that I want to work with children, and so if I'm able to get into the school system and somehow work with youth sports, that's what I want to do.
Okay. And you also got you said a minor in ministry?
Mm-hmm.
And what would you like to do with that?
Well, I noticed that there's been some building in Interlachen, but not really like a complex for children. So youth sports, obviously, and incorporate the Word of God into it.
Awesome. That's one thing that I've always respected you. The area I've always respected you in is the fact that you have always just stood out. Working at the schools in the area for the years, I kind of have people that come through and they're excited about a Bible study, and they come for a couple weeks and you don't see them anymore because it's just a phase in their life. But I've noticed, though, that you, at least in your senior year, or maybe it was your junior year, I think in senior year we were out of the school because of
COVID.
Yeah, all that good stuff. But so your junior year, you came all the time. You were very faithful, and even when you weren't coming, you'd let me know, like, hey, I can't be there today because. And most kids, they don't do that. I have to wonder where so and so is. But you're always faithful with that, kind of letting us know, keeping us updated. But you always stood out, and I always appreciated that. You're the kid I've never heard you. I didn't hear you cussing. I didn't hear you getting involved with the dirty conversations that you sometimes would hear at school. You kind of always just stood out, and I kind of want to have you talk about that for a few minutes. Like, what does it mean to stand out? Like, when did you decide to do that? And tell me about that, I guess.
Okay, so it started in middle school. Whenever you go to middle school, everyone's like finding themselves and whatnot. And so that was the first time that I heard someone that I grew up with in elementary school, like just cuss and like just do it so freely. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't want to be like that. So I just made a decision right then and there, like I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to use that type of language. And a lot of people noticed it around me. And I took the opportunity every chance I get, like whenever someone would start cussing, I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to skedaddle. And that followed me to high school. I would go inside the lunchroom and people would be cussing at a certain table, and I'm like, all right, I'll leave. And they're like, no, stay. Hey guys, Reva's here. Stop cussing. And I like that, and I'm glad that they had that respect for me. But it lets me know that I have a voice and I'm looked up to, and that made me feel good, and also kept me on my toes.
It is good to be respected. I guess as a pastor, I used to be able to walk into a room, and if people knew I was a pastor, they would, they'll say that Pastor Jason's here, so they would respect that. Mm-hmm. But it's getting to the point now in 2024 that that's lost. I still have kids that will do stuff in front of me, say things in front of me, and they don't care anymore. It's like that respect is gone, and I would never look down upon them as that way. I'm not doing it now either. It's just the fact, though, that it used to be, you would never do it in front of adults, and that was just respectful. And then you would never do it in front of someone of the clergy of some sort. But now that's kind of lost. I mean, the adults do it.
Yeah.
And so, why not do it in front of the adults when the adults themselves will do the same things? But still, there was something there about adults and, someone of a spiritual nature, the clergy, that there's things you just wouldn't say or do. But it's cool that your friends, that your peers would look up to you in that way. Yeah. And I appreciate that. And that shows, I believe, the type of character you have. When I started this podcast, I had the list of people I want to talk to. Like, I've got another interview with one of our county commissioners. He'll be here on Wednesday and sit in your seat there. But I talked to other people, and it's all like older people that I've had on my list. And I guess when I first started the podcast, I want to talk about the good, the positive, and the inspirational in our community. And I still want to do that. That's what we're doing. That's the point of the podcast. But for some reason, shame on me, I always think about older people. Like, because I do a lot of funerals, and when I'm doing a funeral, I'm writing someone's story so that I can present, so I get to know about that person, and I get to present their story to the congregation that I'm leading in this funeral. And so normally, when I do funerals, it's usually older people, and that's who I'm writing about. And I'm thinking, oh, if I'd only known they did this or they did this when they were alive, like we could have had some great conversations. And so with all that being said, that's who I had listed. But the other day I was like, wait a minute, Reva would be perfect for an interview like this. For many reasons, but one, I think young ladies need positive role models. I mean, even some of the most positive or some of the most popular music artists that are out there right now, like use foul language. The way they present themselves, and I just don't feel like they're good role models. I mean, as far as making a buck, yeah, they're a role model on how to make money, but I think there's more to life than making money. Yeah. So one, you're a good positive role model in that area. Also, you're young, so we need young positive role models. Like, I've always tried to find young ladies for my girls to be around. I have 4 daughters, you know that, but I'd always try to find college age role models for my girls to get to hang around with, because there's not a lot of role models for youth nowadays. And that's one of the reasons I want to bring you on, just for fun, just to have a conversation. Tell me, you said things started in middle school, but before the podcast started recording, tell me about your trip south and some of those things. Tell me, kind of start from there a little bit more too.
Okay, so when I officially gave my life to Christ, it had to be 8th grade year. Well, not 8th grade summer, whenever I was going to transition into 9th grade. I went on a missions trip to El Salvador, and that missions trip changed my life. When I came back, I realized, okay, like, I really want to start living my life for Christ, because the youth over there, they do it unashamed in front of their parents, and the emotion is genuine and it's real, and you could see that. And I was like, I want to love God that much. And so, like, I just turned my life to Him. Like, I was already living for Him, but I was like, I wasn't all in terms of whenever I would go to church and I would commune with everyone. I was a little shy, to give my all to God.
So what's a missions trip to El Salvador look like? What'd you do? What kind of things did you participate in?
So we did a mega sports camp with the kids over there, and so in the morning we wake up, we do worship, we go down the road to like this sports area that they had. It's not much, but it's something, and we had like materials, hula hoops, basketball, soccer balls. We had a little bit of cones to do other activities, and we would do that for a time, and then we would stop and we would do like a mini devotion with them, and then we would go back to doing the dancing and the songs, and then we'll go back outside and do the sport, and then we'll end it all with another worship session. Awesome. And doing songs. And we did that every day for a week, and then we also went to a school, and we did like this praise dance thing, and that was really powerful. You would hear like the little kids, everyone would be like in crisscross applesauce, a lot of kids outside this school complex. And you would hear them like whenever we nail Jesus to the cross in one of our skits, they're like, and it's just like, it was great. I enjoyed it, and it opened my eyes to a lot, because these kids, they love God and they don't have much, and we have more than enough, and we're just acting like God is not there, if that makes sense. So we don't acknowledge Him as much as they do, and it's very eye-opening. I
think a part of that is materialism. Like I was thinking about this. I've been to different countries. Now, I may have not have just seen it, but I've been to Colombia, we've been to Honduras. My daughter, took her down there a few months ago. I've been to Hungary, been to Mexico, but I've been to the Bahamas, and I never really see like thrift stores in it. And I'm sure they're there. I'm sure they have thrift stores, but I know, especially in this county, like there's a thrift store everywhere. There's yard sales everywhere. It's because people have too much stuff, junk, and I think we're very materialistic, and we live way beyond our means. We want, so we charge everything, and then we don't have money to pay for it, so we're trying to have yard sales to sell it to pay for our credit cards. But I think a lot of these other cultures, Colombia is my favorite. I've been down there 3 times. And I loved working with the youth down there because they are, like you said, they're real.
Yeah.
They take their faith seriously, and they have to live counterculture, which you have done personally. And I think materialism is a lot of the problem. Like, we have so much stuff, and because we have so much stuff, we have to work more. We have to make more money because we have to pay for more stuff.
Yeah.
And I think our country, that's an issue with our country, in my opinion. And the youth see the adults live that way, and then the youth live the same way as well. That's what's presented in front of them. But that's my experience being on the mission field, working with the youth as well. And I'm assuming you saw the same. And those kids are a lot more real down there at times.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have to be. And there's a lot of real kids, and that's why I wanted to bring you on, because you're a real kid. You know, are you 21 now?
Yes, I'm 21.
So you're 21, you're a real kid too. Like,
Yeah.
you have countercultured the high school where you went, and you rose above. In fact, the high school sometimes will post things on the Facebook page, Rams on the rise,
Yeah.
and you've been on there a couple times. Oh, that was very cool. What else do you want to talk about?
I got an award for beach volleyball. I play beach volleyball. And I got the Champion of Character Award. And
Awesome.
for me, that was very shocking. But a lot of people around me, like the teams that we played against, a lot of girls come up to me and they're like, hey, great job on your award. You really deserved it. And I'm like, well, thank you. I mean, there's not really many opportunity to where you can see each individual player and say, that's a player that we're going to award this to, because like there's so many girls in our conference that play beach volleyball. And I think maybe what made me stood out is the fact that after every game, I'm like, hey, do you want to pray with us? And they're like, yeah. So they get their team and I get my team, and we make a big circle in the sand under the nets. And I usually lead the prayer after every match. And it's good. It's great. And
What's your prayer sound like when you pray?
what's my prayer sound
Yeah,
like?
what would be a regular prayer for you after a game? How would you pray? What would you say?
I would say, Lord, I thank you for allowing us to play the game that we love. Please continue to keep us and protect us the rest of this season. I pray that we keep the love for the sport. I pray that your light shines through us as we do so, and help us to finish the semester strong.
Awesome. I like that.
Yeah.
I was hoping, my kids played softball, and sometimes they would pray, and it would always be Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I love to hear a prayer from the heart, like, just, this is how I'm going to pray, and it's from my heart, and it's meaningful, and I like that. That was really cool. That was really good. Thank you. So we talked about growing up. We talked about high school. Do you have any mentors?
Yes, I
Who are
do.
your mentors?
My youth pastor, Miss Tammy, she's my mentor.
Okay.
She is the one who made me love God so strongly. I'm getting emotional. I love her so much. And a lot of people, they don't follow Christ because they think it's so many rules. Like, I don't want to be a Christian because you have to do this. It's not fun. Miss Tammy makes it fun. And I am so grateful for her, because if I didn't have her in my life, I'm pretty sure I'd be somewhere else. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't love God so strongly. I'm pretty sure that if I did get off track, I wouldn't get back on track. She's an anchor, and she truly loves God, and she loves to see young people grow. And I want to do the same. Like, she inspires me to do the same for young people. So.
Okay. Any other adults that you have mentored, or it doesn't have to be adults either, any other mentors or people you look up to?
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Like, there's a list of people who have instilled so much.
Throw some names out there. Who are some of the ones that you would really...
My coach, Coach Linda Pye, my track and field coach, Daniel Medley, the mothers in my life, Dolly Sugarine, Kelly Boynton, my mom,
The real mother in your life.
Yeah.
Now, you were raised, your mom and dad were separated, you mentioned, so you were raised in a single mom home,
Yeah.
basically, and but your dad was always very supportive and there for everything too.
Oh yeah.
So very cool.
A lot of people help raise me, and when I go to school, I have school moms that have helped me. I have school dads, and going to Warner, those people have continued to be in my life. Dean Weathers. I was very close with him. I worked for him, and he was like my school dad, and I really appreciate him. He kept me strong in my faith, and always continued to pray for me, pray with me, and we have like these sessions on Fridays, knowing God personally, and he didn't want to call it a Bible study. He wanted to call it knowing God personally, because what we're doing is we're getting to know God. We're not studying the Bible.
Right.
And they were really intense, but I loved them. And yeah, who I am today is not because of one person, but a lot of people have played a part in who I am.
So do you have, I think this is one of the questions I left in there for you, do you have any moments that you would say was definitely a miracle or an answer to your prayer?
Yeah, a lot of moments. I want to think of just one where I'm like, oh, that was miraculous. It was at youth camp. And that year was a little rough for me because I had tweaked my hamstring and I wasn't able to go to Junior Olympics. And before that, I went to Junior Olympics every year. And so this was going to be my year, you know? And I tweaked my hamstring. And so I'm like, okay, well, Miss Tammy, I can go to youth camp now. I don't have to go to Junior Olympics. And so I went to youth camp, and there was an altar call on one of the nights. And he was like, if you need healing in your body, and I'm like, oh, I need healing. So I went up there, and he said, lift your hands, and we repeated a prayer. And as we're saying this prayer, like I feel like this tingling or like this movement in my hamstring, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is the Lord working, and my heart starts pumping really fast. And the next day we have like this obstacle course, and they asked for like somebody to do the 400, like the sprint. That's how you start off the obstacle course, with the sprint. And I was like, I can do it, like no hesitation, knowing dang well I had tweaked my hamstring. But I just believed like something happened last night, you know, something that I can't explain. And I ran that 400 with zero pain, and I was like, wow, this is great. I am a miracle. Like, I'm a walking testimony right now. And I told Miss Tammy, and I was crying. I was like, I did so good, Miss Tammy. And she was like, yeah, God works miracles.
Yeah, I believe God. Sometimes there's a lot out there that's fake, I believe, when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But there are, God still is a miracle working God.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we put him in a box and we expect him to do it our way.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, we get mad
way.
at him, but God, does miraculous things in ways that we don't ever expect.
Yeah, and I believe that because all my life I ran track and field, and I was supposed to go to school for track and field. That was the plan. Like, my dad's spending all this money to send me to these track meets, and I'm doing all these fundraisers to go to these track meets to make it big so I can go to college for track. And I decide, 12th grade year, I'm not going to do track and field. And so it's like, is this all for nothing? But God had a plan. And that plan was for me to go to Warren University, for me to change lives, and to find another avenue.
Well, track and field, I can understand how you look at that, like, oh, my dad's gone. But track and field is not just about running. It also builds character,
Mm-hmm.
right? It builds body strength. So even though you're not doing track and you're doing something else, you still have the character, you still have, the strength to do it. And so it wasn't all for naught.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
It definitely helped me whenever I went to BCT training, basic combat training for the military. All those things that I had went through doing track and field, it came back to me, and I was like, okay, just keep pushing. You got it.
So back to your childhood, just for fun, is there anything that you have from your childhood that you hold on to, like an object or a toy or something that means something to you?
I don't, but I have all my medals that I have received for competing, and so yeah.
That makes me sad to hear that, because my one daughter collects monkeys, and she had like over 100 monkeys, and she had them all named.
Oh no, 100?
Oh yeah, stuffed monkeys. She had like 100. I'm not at all exaggerating. We had a ladder. I put a ladder in her room, and we had monkeys hanging off. She had names for her. My other daughter collected elephants, and then when they come home from college, it's like they'll come home from college for like Thanksgiving or Christmas or the summer, and every time they leave, there's a little bag by the door. I'm like, what's this? What's stuff to get rid of? I'm like, okay. And then they leave, I go through the bag, I'm like, oh, you know, how could that monkey be in there? Or because I bought them that monkey from the thrift store, so you know.
Yeah.
And or I'd see a book that I gave them, or some clothes, you know, because they've outgrown. And it's like, as a dad, I'm kind of like, you guys can't keep that for maybe for your little kids when you have kids. So we have, you know, so there are some things I kept, like some books. In fact, I have a grandson now, and I've been recording myself reading some books to him because, you know, his mom and dad, they do traveling across the country with their ministry, and so I don't get to see him very often. So I said, well, at least you'll get to see me reading him a book once in a while. So I put him on YouTube and sent him the link to it, but private video, no one else can see it because it's embarrassing. But 'cause I can act like a little kid reading stories, but I hate that. Then, like I said, like the bag goes out with monkeys and elephants. So now I'm learning, I guess all y'all do that. Maybe it's just me. I'm just sentimental, I guess. But
Perhaps, yeah.
I was hoping you had something that you kept, but all right.
No.
I'll let you pass on that one then. My daughter's actually over there listening right now, and she's probably like, oh, good, thank you, Reva, for saying that, because she's getting married in a couple weeks. She probably has another box she's working on filling up to go to the thrift store. So we talked about that. Let's see. What is a moment from your life that you wish you had a photograph for? Is there something you can think about, like, that you wish, oh, I wish I had a picture of that, I've been there, done that, or wish somebody got a picture of me doing that, anything?
Yes, so I actually take pictures of a lot of things, right? But one that's like really weird is I want to have a picture of me crying on the track after a really tough workout, because no one ever sees what you go through to get to where you want to be, you know? And a lot of people have seen like me with pictures of after I break a record or after I like win like a big track meet, but they never see like what I had to go through to get to that point. Like, yeah. So I just wish I had a picture of me.
You know, it's interesting. That's almost the opposite of what this podcast is about, because everything focuses on the negative, and I'm trying to focus on the positive. Mm-hmm. So I bring you on here to talk positive, and the one picture you want is something negative. But it's perfect, because the things that we have that are positive, a lot of those things, it takes hard work to get there. And where we're at in life is not just, I mean, look, you live in a social media world, that's your age group, and I guess I'm involved in it too, but everybody posts their favorite pictures on Instagram.
Yeah.
They post their favorite pictures on Facebook, and you know, that's what you see, that's what sells. But the truth is, a lot of that's fake.
Yeah.
I had a friend one time who said, I wish I had a family like yours, and I wish I had this, I wish I had that. She said, y'all guys are always so happy, and this and that. And I'm like, you only see the pictures I post.
Yeah.
In real life, we have heartaches, we have struggles, we have bad days, you know, we have hospital visits, we have fights, you know, there's things that we go through, but nobody wants to see those things. They want to see the good stuff.
The good stuff.
But that's perfect, because those bad things sometimes helps us to realize how good the good things really are as well. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Those hard practices and all that all add up to the rewards and stuff that you've earned.
Yeah, and a lot of the volleyball girls, we would do workouts, and they're like, Reva, how are you not breathing hard right now? And I'm like, well, you have to understand, when I grew up, like, it wasn't too far, like maybe like a year and a half that I've been out of track and field, like extensive training. And they were like, Reva, like, you're so strong. And I'm like, it took a lot to get to where I am. And if I could send you a documentary, I would. So
you're growing older now. I'm assuming you mentioned that you have we won't get into all that, but I'll just say you mentioned you're in a relationship of some sort. Who knows, you know, what God's will is for that. But one day, is it on your bucket list to have children?
Yes.
Okay, so when you have children, what are some things that you have already in your mind or in your heart say, these are things I'm going to teach my kids? What are some of those things? What are some values or things that you want your kids to learn that you're going to teach them, like right off the bat, you know these are very important?
You're going to go through some things. What matters is how you respond to it, and what your immediate reaction is. And I love the verse. I don't know the exact chapter, but it's be slow to anger and quick to listen. And so I really would like them to learn that, to grasp that, and to live that. Also to love, to show grace, because that is something that's very important. It's hard in this culture to show grace to people. You can be canceled really easily if you do something or if you support something. They're like, well, nope, you like that? Oh, okay, no, we're not gonna affiliate with you, associate with you. And to show grace, because not everyone has the same background as you. Not everyone was raised like you were raised. I work at Publix, and some people are on the job and they don't know how to use a broom correctly. And that was a shock to me because I grew up, I had to clean all the time. And it didn't matter if I had homework, I had to get it done before I went to bed. And so I know how to sweep. And I show grace. That's something that is high on the list of teaching my children.
You're an easygoing person. You're dedicated. I know that, but you're kind of easygoing. You're kind of chill. You ever get in arguments with anybody? Disagreements?
Yeah. Yes, I do. But a lot of the time I'm the first person to say, all right, because I don't like wasting time and I don't like fueling the fire, and I'm quick to think, oh, this is what the enemy wants. I'm so quick to do that, and I try to tell my little sister, like, the enemy wants you to be mad, so why are you letting him win, and so most of the time if I get in an argument, I'm like, all right, yeah, I can see that, and then I just leave it alone.
Yeah, the second part of that question was how do you work through disagreements and differences, and you kind of shared some of that, showing grace, not fueling the fire. Anything else?
Understanding where they're coming from, showing grace. And learning to listen, really, that's how you get through, because mainly the other person wants to talk, and so you just gotta let them talk. Maybe that's just what they need. And
growing up, I heard the word ignorant a lot, and I always thought ignorant was like, if you're ignorant, that's a bad thing. But the truth is, ignorance just means you haven't taught something. And like you said, everybody's been raised differently. We had a young man live with us for a while. I said, hey, would you throw out the trash for me? I went out doing what I was doing, mowing the yard. I come back and the trash is still there. I'm like, hey, can you please take out the trash for me? I come back in, it's still there. I was like, hey, is everything all right? I said, yes, sir. I said, well, you haven't taken out the trash yet. He goes, I don't know what that means. Like, how do you do that?
Oh.
And I'm like, what? And he grew up in his family. His mom and dad did everything for him. He was never taught how to do that. It was something so simple, I would think, but he didn't have a clue. And I mean, this kid's a straight A student taking a mechanical engineering degree, and he had no clue how to take out the trash.
Wow.
So it wasn't he was dumb or stupid or anything like we would use those words. He was just ignorant. He didn't know. And so it took 3 minutes for me to teach him how to pull the bag out, put a new one in, tie it, take it to the camp. I mean, just simple. But sometimes we have to realize that not everybody's grown up like we have, and they just need someone simply to be gracious with them and love them and take a minute of our time just to show them something simple. So I understand that. That's pretty interesting. So many questions. I have like 40 questions I gave you, and a lot of them you've already asked or answered them throughout the interview, but we've talked about that already. Do you have any life regrets? You're only 21, so it can't be too long of a list, but...
So recently I was like, okay, I can't live my life in regret or wanting to go back, because everything that's happened has brought me to this point. So I can't think of anything that I would want to change, because if I think about that one thing, then I'm like, well, this wouldn't have happened. So I think I'm going to leave everything the way it is.
You can't live your life playing Back to the Future. Have you ever watched that movie?
Yes.
They're always going back and trying to change something, and then it messes something else up, and it's constant, and it never is perfect. And I can, and that's good. I love that answer. That's actually good. As you get older, I think there's things I look back on, and I'll say, well, I regret this and regret that, but actually that helps me a little bit. Thank you for saying that. Okay, so you grew up in our community, and our goal is to focus on the positive. I don't mind asking this. Are there some positive or negative changes in our community that you've seen and that you would like to see done better, or are you glad they're getting better?
So I've only been back for like a little while, and every time I do come back here, I usually go to my grandma's and I go to the gas station. There's a Taco Bell being built here, and I was like, oh, that's nice, but like, where's the community center? You know, where's the youth sports, you know, because there's a lot of children who probably want to do something, but they're not able to do something. And for me growing up, I was always in sports, but I had to travel. You know, we went to Gainesville after every day of school. We go to Gainesville. I do my track practice, come back home, and I was out of trouble. Head on straight. I knew what I wanted to do when I grew up. A lot of people don't, and so I think if we had an opportunity for the children to do that rather than building more food places, that would benefit us.
Okay.
You know, so it's something positive. They're building stuff. You know, but
Is that something that, when you look at something like that, does it create a desire for you to come back and do something like that?
yeah, yes, it does, and that's where I'm at a crossroads because I'm like, Lord, I don't really want to stay in. I love my town, but I don't really want to stay. But if it is for me to do, then if it's left for me to do, then I'll do it.
Sometimes I always try to tell people, if you're going to bring, like in our church, if you have a problem, I want to hear problems. I want to know, we want to fix problems, but try not to bring me a problem without some type of a solution. Like have an idea in your mind, like here's the problem, this is how we can fix it. That's helpful.
Yeah.
It's helpful to bring a solution with your criticism. And so you brought a solution to that. I actually forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, a solution with criticism. I forget where I was going totally with that. But that is one thing. We do have community sports. I know we have like Pop Warner, we have Babe Ruth, but even like the Babe Ruth, my kids played in Interlachen, but now that's closed because unfortunately the community can't keep the ball field open because of vandalism, and there was always fights breaking out. Unfortunately, things like that were going on back then, and so I know there's a group now that they see that ball field overgrown, they're like, hey, let's get this established again. So there are some good positive things like that, and that is good. But we do need to talk about in the area because I have to run all the way down to Palatka to get me a taco. No, I'm just kidding. But no, there has been some growth in our area. We do have a community center now, by the way. We do have one that's been remodeled. It's near Tremont Street on 315. But it's honestly, you can go there and do some things, but it's not a sports thing at all. It's all like it's where you can meet to, you know, do a podcast or something like that. It's not really something set up for. It's not big enough. There's nothing really outside. We have Mary Wisham Field, of course, where kids do things. But again, there's not a lot. That's always the complaint I hear. You know, people are like, our town needs a laundromat and we need a YMCA or a sports center of some sort. And I still don't know why we've not had those in this community.
Yeah,
and
the laundromat, for sure. I'm pretty sure that's easy to.
I guess there was some in the past, but because of the water quality and things like that, and the infrastructure, I guess, it's hard for that to happen. So I get it. But I still don't understand that, though. The YMCA, or why we don't have anywhere in our county, we don't have it. It seems like a complex where kids can go and, there are, there's Triangle Park, there are places, but I think our end of the county, we get kind of left out sometimes. So if anybody's listening to this podcast and they're kind of wondering what are some positive changes that could happen, that is a positive change. It's something that could happen. I always try to point people to the churches in our community. There's youth groups, so their kids can get involved in that way. And yes, it's religious. I know some people aren't religious, but youth group is a religious thing. But in the middle of that, they get to learn character. They get to learn sports. We play games and go places and stuff. Well, very good. So let's talk about bucket list. What's on your bucket list?
Traveling.
And where to? Give us some specifics, though.
So I would like to go to Japan. I would like to go to Barcelona, Spain, and I would like to go to Germany.
So why Japan?
Just the scenery, like a change of scenery, and all three of those places are different.
Okay, Barcelona. I'm assuming because of sports, or no?
No.
Okay, because I think of the Olympics in Barcelona. So why Barcelona? Same thing, just change the scenery?
Yeah, definitely.
In Germany?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I love being outside, and yeah, I've always wanted to travel. And so that's big on my bucket list. Another thing is establishing a place to reside. That's something that I always think about, but I'm never like for sure. So I'm just waiting on God and listening to His voice wherever He tells me. Another thing on my bucket list would have to be graduating with my master's.
There you go.
It's a struggle because I'm not big on school, but I want to get it because the opportunity presented itself. So.
Okay. So you've mentioned twice now that you're not really big on school. You like to read?
Yes, I like to read.
What's the last book you read?
Every Good Endeavor by Timothy Keller. It was actually for my theology and vocation class, my senior seminar. And I really liked it. It was an eye-opener, and although it was for my class, I was like, okay, I really need to be doing some of these things. I need to think deeper about why I'm doing certain things. And, yeah, it's good.
All right, ready?
Yes.
And you don't have to expound upon these. They're lightning round, which means I'm giving you just quick questions. You can say whatever, just quick. So you don't have to say a lot on this one, but this one's kind of one that most people will have to explain. But what's the stupidest dare you ever agreed to?
Oh my goodness. Racing. Racing. In Lake Wales, there is 27, just straight shot. And my friend, they were like, $20. Like, $20 is not a lot today. But they were like, $20, I beat you. And like, there's nobody on this road, but there are red lights, you know.
We're talking car racing.
Yes, car racing.
Now you realize that a ticket costs more than $20.
Oh yeah.
And insurance goes up way more than $20.
That is why.
But for $20, so did you win?
No, I didn't win.
So okay, did you have to pay $20? Oh, you lost $20.
Yeah.
Oh man, you could have lost $20 in many ways then.
That's why it was a little.
It was dumb, huh?
Yeah.
You ever met a famous person?
Multiple, yes. Shawty Miller-Ubio. She's a 400-meter runner. I met her and her husband, Michael Ubio. I met Christian Coleman. He beat Noah Lyles in the 100. I met Grant Galloway. He's the record holder for the 100-meter hurdles, 60-meter hurdles as well. And yeah, I met others as well, but they're not as famous as those people that I mentioned.
So if I asked you to go on your phone and FaceTime the most famous contact on your phone, who would that be? Like, who would pick up and say, "Hey, Reva"? Do you have anybody like that? Anybody famous?
Not FaceTime because he has an Android, but Lawrence Seagrave. He wrote the book for track and field. Like,
okay.
He's currently coaching in Europe right now.
And so you've talked to him before on the phone?
Yeah.
Conversations? Cool.
Yes.
So you mentioned, everybody you mentioned, I was like, I have no idea who that is. So I'll go back later and listen and look them up and say, okay, who is that? But it all had to do with sports and running, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's really good. I guess the last thing I'll ask you is, let me see, look at this list. We talked about that. Oh, how about music? Tell us about music. So culturally, music is all over the place right now. Mm-hmm. I'll see someone say, oh, here's a new artist, and I always like to know what's going on. I like to be informed. And so I'm like, what in the world is this? I say that a lot, like, no way, this can't be real. But what kind of music, what's some of your favorite artists? Like, what's on your playlist? Or
Yeah, so I really love Christian rap and Christian R&B. I love contemporary worship, so the Maverick City, the Refresh worship.
I like Maverick City.
The Elevation, yeah. So
the thing, my struggle with Maverick City is, it's like, you can sing this song in 3 minutes and be done. But for some reason, like some of their tracks are like 13, 14.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's the whole worship
okay,
session.
3 minutes is done. Let's move to the next song. Like, we got it. But I don't understand that. Different culture, I guess. But some of the songs are I love Brandon Lake. Mm-hmm. But some of his songs are like so uber long. I'm like,
They're
oh my
long.
Goodness, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But
I think those songs are cleaning songs.
Cleaning songs?
Yeah.
I used to clean my dad, when I was little, my dad was a pastor, and I'd clean the church. And back then, we were very strict on music, or my dad was very strict on music, and so a lot of things I couldn't listen to. So I'd be vacuuming the auditorium and I'd be listening to like really loud preachers, so I can at least hear something over the vacuum cleaner. But nowadays, if I'm cleaning the auditorium here, if I'm doing that, I'll be putting on some music.
Yes.
And Maverick City would be probably one of those ones that go on and on and on, really loud. You can hear them. But anyway, well, I'm glad to have you on here. I don't know, how this podcast will go. Like, you're my second interview. It's something I've kind of thought up, and I wanted this to be a conversation, kind of get to know people better. I want to inspire. I think there's a lot of young people need good role models, and I feel like you have been a person. My hope is, because we see a lot in our county where people grow up here, they go away, but they don't come back because they feel like there's not a lot to do. Mm-hmm. But the fact that there's things to do in our county, my prayer is that someone like yourself will come back and fill those gaps, and where there's a need, you'll come back and say, hey, I'm going to fill that need. I think that's important, that we have people that come back, because you've been there.
Mm-hmm.
If I can, I'm going to use an illustration for my family. My daughter, she went to Interlachen High School, and she did really well. She graduated one of the top honors in the class, but she was homeschooled most of her life. She was scared to death to go to Interlachen High School. To go to a public school, she was scared to death. And she went, and she did not like public school. The things were different there than at home, and I get it. But I did tell her, I said, look, she wanted to be a missionary. I said, if you want to be a missionary, you're gonna have to learn how to be light in darkness as a missionary. I said, what better place can you be light in darkness than at a public school? And I think hopefully she grabbed a hold of that. But now her and her husband, they travel, and they're in a public school almost every day of the week. They do. He's a magician. Mm-hmm. And they go into public schools and they do speeches and stuff on like bullying and things, and they're trying to mentor kids. And I'm like, so the Lord used her public school and knowing, being there and doing that, she can now go to another public school and know how those kids are feeling and what they're going through, and try to encourage them how they can be light in darkness as well. So with that being said, knowing the community, knowing the struggles that some kids have, those kids need someone like yourself to come back and show them that it can be done, that they can be light in darkness, that they can overcome. And so whatever your decisions are, you want to follow the Lord's lead, and I totally agree with that, but don't put them in a box. Say, Lord, if you'll bring me back to Putnam County, there's a lot of holes to be filled. I'll be willing to come and do that, and that'd be an awesome thing if you ever did that. I would love to see that happen.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say as we close out?
I hope this podcast takes off, and I hope that it reaches some people and it touches some people, and it makes them think about what they should be doing.
Who do you want this specific episode? Who do you want to reach out to?
Possibly young people who are graduating and wanting to know what they're going to do with their life, and whether that's go to college or go to work. That's it. I did like a speech at my graduation, and I was like, don't chase the bag, but chase God. And hopefully people are chasing God as they continue on with their life.
Okay.
Hopefully me going to school and whatever else I decide to do, people will continue to see that. I'm pretty sure you're going to tag me in the video. My profile is me literally updating everyone who I've ever come in contact with, what I'm doing, and that's it.
So you don't mind putting yourself out there?
No, it ain't. I don't do anything of that.
No, I know, that's what I mean. That's good.
Yeah.
Like you're like, hey, I don't mind. I'm sure. I don't think you're proud by any means.
Yeah.
But I think you've worked hard to have good character.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's been said that it takes a lifetime to build a character, but it takes just a matter of seconds or minutes to ruin a lifetime of that building. And that's a reminder to you as well. And you do have, I've followed people in the past and pointed people to people, and then it's like, then they did something foolish, and then everything kind of crumbled down. But I don't see that with you. I think you're a strong young lady, and I appreciate you. And I'm glad you're my friend.
Yeah.
I guess you're my favorite. You're my most Not favorite. You're my most famous contact in my phone. I'm just kidding. No, you're not famous yet. But so I do say, if you want to, you can. But I gave you a list of questions, and at the end, I'll say, hey, you get to ask me a couple questions if you want. Is there anything you want to ask me?
Yeah. So about like your keepsakes or what you have kept since your childhood. Was there anything?
Oh man, that's a hard question. So actually, it's not. I keep a lot of things. I keep a lot of ticket stubs from when I was a kid. We used to go to arena football games, so I kept a lot of those. I actually have a couple toys I've kept, like small toys that fit in like a little box. I have a couple. I love to read. I have a library, a personal library of about 3,000 books, and but some of those books that I've kept aside are ones that I had when I was a kid. In fact, the other day I was panicking because I wanted to read Cyrus, my little grandson. I wanted to read him a book from when I was a kid. I couldn't find it. It was called The Fire Cat. And I looked everywhere for it, and I called my daughter, and she said, oh, it's in my room. And I went in there, and it was on her shelf. I was like, oh, yay. So that, I guess it's silly, but it's some books that I have that I kept. Of course, pictures and stuff. Those are things that I've kept since I was a kid. I have every yearbook from my kindergarten to my junior year in high school. In my senior year in high school, I was at a small Christian school, and I worked on a yearbook committee, and I raised the most money, and we had the yearbook being published, and then they came back and said, well, last year's yearbook wasn't paid off, and so they won't allow us to publish one this year. And so my one yearbook that I don't have is my senior yearbook, and literally, I kid you not, it's in a binder of pages that everybody just signed, and we like pasted or glued pictures on pages, and we all like we made our own yearbook in a notebook of like regular paper. It was just so lame. It's so sad.
Wow.
But my senior year, wah, wah, wah. That's what it's like. But I was top 20 in my graduating class.
Hey,
there was
that's
13 of
good.
us, but there was 13 graduates. I was top 20. But any other questions for me?
Your favorite book? You have 3,000?
Yeah,
Over
3,000. That was a good question. I guess my most favorite book was a recent read. And to be fair, I'm a pastor. I don't read every book I have. Let's just be honest. A lot of them are used for studying. I'll look up certain chapters and different things. I believe the book was called, you got me on this one, but it's about a pastor from Birmingham, and he was known as a community pastor. And reading the book, this was like in the early 1900s, reading the book was intriguing to me because it's who I want to be. Like, I don't have a big church. We have a small church, and I do everything I can just to be involved in the community because I love people. I want to be positive. I want to bring positive change if possible. And that's what this guy did. And the book was something about iron shoes. I can't remember the name of the book, but iron shoes was part of the book. But anyway, that's my most favorite book that I read recently. I enjoyed reading that. I learned a lot, except for the title of it. And I can't remember the pastor's name either, which is ridiculous. Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah.
But I read a lot of biographies. And that was my last favorite book. I'm gonna have to go down and find the title of the book. That's embarrassing, but that would be my most favorite book that I read. And it was recent, probably the last 9 or 10 months I've read that book. I've got a couple books I'm reading right now, but one is a biography of about a different one's missionary Hudson Taylor and some other people in the same book. I've just read a book by Charles Stanley recently about landmines, the Christian life. That was a really good book. I enjoyed that. I'm reading a book by David Jeremiah about signs of the times, and he's going through, do we live in the end times, and what things does the Bible say happens in the end times. I'm reading that right now. I've always got a couple books I'm reading, and I read John Grisham. He's my favorite author as far as fiction goes, so I just finished 2 of his books, but I need to read more, honestly. And I need to remember what I read and those are the books I read. I guess that's a good way to end this podcast. Me looking like a fool, but anyway, I'm just kidding. All right, well, Reva, thank you so much.